Father, I stretch. Okay.
My hands
To thee. No other help I know. That's old school.
Yes.
Welcome out, like on 3.
1, 2, 3. Welcome back. Wait, you
Blooper.
say welcome
back. Welcome back. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Lot Life.
Poverty.
Actually, wait. Let me start over because I just want to get it out. Okay. All right. Yeah. That was good though. Today we're going to be talking about something that we are seeing run rampant right now in this country and
all over the world.
And a lot of people are not talking about it because it's just become the ways of the world, the day and the night. And that is poverty. All right, y'all. So let's get into it. Today we're going to identify the foundations of poverty, what poverty looks like, and ultimately how it can leave you feeling. You know, a lot of the reasons why we want to talk about this is because it's really been heavy on our hearts for us to say the things that a lot of people aren't really saying out loud.
Yeah, it's just really good to be able to have a freedom. I think when you do navigate into that reign of being transparent, there's a freedom that comes with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that makes it easier. I'm just saying, like, it's almost like once you start, it's kind of easier to move further into it and kind of free yourself up, you know. So they used to have this thing that says that if you tell it, then if the devil tell it, ain't no power to it, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are the person that's telling it, then you actually strip the enemy of any power that he may have to accuse you of something. So that's the way that we look at it. We just really want to expose, you know, what has been going on and what is going on presently, and allow people to have a closer look at what we're dealing with outside of just living in the car, like maybe the root to some of this stuff.
Yeah, and you know, we're no stranger to poverty. In fact, you know, that is a huge part of my life story, and my mother's life story. So who better yet to speak on it than the people who've actually lived it for quite a long time. And so it's really important for people who are in poverty or who are journeying out of poverty, who are aware that they want to be out of it, that we talk about this. So when I was little, let's start it off like this. I don't know if you guys know, but we're from Chicago. Chi-town. Shout out to anybody who's from Chicago watching this video.
Yes, we're from the South Side, or as they would so eloquently put it, South Side.
Chi-town. We're from Chicago, and when I was younger, my mom moved me and my brother to Englewood, in an Englewood apartment. And I guess you could take it from there, because why did we end up moving in Englewood?
We just needed a break from what was going on in our own household, which we'll dig into later. But we just needed a break. And then, honestly, like, the place that we're about to move to was a lot more reasonable as far as what I could afford. So, you know, that's another thing that attaches itself to poverty, is now everything has to be affordable. You know, you can't, you know, at that particular time, I couldn't move into a place that was like thousands of dollars a month. Now, this was years ago.
And you had 2 kids, so.
And I had both of you guys. So I was raising, a son and a daughter, and it was just like, yeah, I moved from, my mom's home, which I had lived somewhere else before. So I will get into that at another time. But I was like, well, I just needed some space. I needed my own space. And I knew you guys needed it. So we like, and the person that we were renting from, we knew. So, we were like, okay, let's just move. We took a look. I took a look at the apartment. I was like, okay, it looks clean. The people that lived in the building seemed to be okay at the time. So, we moved in.
Yeah, but and I don't really remember a lot about that process either. I was just 5 years old.
Yes,
I was only 5. I do remember a lot of that experience, but I really it was almost like when you're 5, you just almost start in the middle of places. You don't really remember how things began.
And then you're a child, so you're pretty much going with the flow. It's like whatever your parents
wherever
do,
I ended up
is what you're gonna do, right?
Exactly.
Which is everybody's story. Like wherever your parents are, that's where you're gonna be. So yeah, we now the little background on Englewood, it's not known as the safest. Now we weren't in like a place where there was like a lot of what I thought or perceived that it was a lot of violence, but notoriously that area is not the best area.
It's a high crime area.
It's a high crime area. Yeah. A lot, of things go on. I know people, like whenever we tell people that we come from Chicago, they always like, whoa, like
they do, they probably like what you thought when we said it, if you're not from there. And it's really you got to really be from there to really not think about other people's stigmas on the city, because you got to know firsthand what it's really like. But it is also some of the things that people feel, depending on where you are, your circumstances, and who you know.
Right, and so it's an impoverished area too. So it's not where you would drive around and see like mansions. It's nothing like that. There's a lot of apartment buildings, complexes, some homes, some of them are run down. The business they don't have a lot of businesses there.
Very segregated. Very segregated. Chicago's a very much white and black, Hispanic, even very separated. 1, 2, 3. It's there's the middle point where everybody can meet up and kind of mix together, which would probably be like a downtown sort of area. But for the most part, it's one of the most segregated cities in America.
And so this particular, if you guys hear the ducks in the background, I don't know, they got a duck call going on.
Hopefully they don't all come over here.
Yeah. Look like they may be calling. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a place that was sustainable. It was a place that was affordable. It's two separate things, right? Another thing that attaches itself to poverty is it could be a place where it's affordable, or something that's affordable, but not necessarily something that's sustainable, right? So it did not work out the way that I thought that it would. And I was thinking in my head that this was going to be temporary. We're just going to live here, just give ourselves a break for a while, save up, and find ourselves someplace else to be. And yes, I was working, but I wasn't making a lot of money at that particular time to be able to really have like a lot of money to save up after paying my expenses.
So we actually had, I remember we we were sleeping on the floor. We were sleeping on these brown mattresses on the floor in a tiny room. If you know what that's like. No bed frame, none of that. And that's actually a vivid memory that I have of just like me and my brother sharing the same bed, and just having no bed frame, no furniture, really.
Yeah, we had like a little sofa, or I think it was like a love seat or something, maybe like a chair. It wasn't a big place. It was a 1-bedroom. I, gave them the bedroom because obviously, they needed to sleep in a bedroom, and that was fine. But long story short, we started to see that there was some things about the place that we were living in that was not going to work out for us. And I remember us being like in the living room and watching TV, just like regular TV. And
Yeah.
and then out of nowhere, this mouse like runs up under like the where the television was, and we're
Yeah.
all like, "Oh my God!" And we're like all
Yeah.
taken aback, and everybody's screaming, and it's
And
just like,
what I remember is that there was the mouse. It was like, was it a white mouse? Was it white? I remember it being white. I remember a white mouse, and I actually have never really seen a white mouse since. But I don't know where this white mouse came from. But it actually like jumped up and crawled on the back of the entertainment center. Like it was on the entertainment center.
as if to say hello.
As if to say, hey, I want to watch some TV with y'all.
Oh, I want to watch y'all while you're watching TV.
Exactly. So that was like the first sign.
Yeah.
That was the first.
Yes.
The first time something
that was
right.
like pretty crazy. And then I'm like, oh my God, like, so, and then, it's all kind of thoughts come through your mind. Now, mind you, like, again, I didn't have money to like get us up out of there like right away. And I talked to the landlord, and the landlord suggested, oh, I have a cat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this emergency cat things is always about, but that's been a constant with us too. Like if we don't have an exterminator, we can figure out about getting a cat or something like that. But what was crazy was that the mouse problem was like persistent until we got the cat. So we didn't get the cat right away. And so what I had decided to do was like send the kids back to my mom's, because I didn't want them to have to deal with that. And there was some, a lot of fear there that something, maybe they might get bit or something. And it was just, it was a concern of mine. But that was a constant. It was always like rats appearing. It was, the worst, one of the worst parts of it was that I was hearing shooting one night, and the kids were asleep, and I was hearing some shooting outside of where we lived. And, so I'm looking outside and I see somebody, excuse me, laying in the street. And, it's just so crazy. And, I think what happened was I heard like some screeching of tires. And I look outside, and, I did go outside. Maybe I wasn't supposed to. Maybe that wasn't the wisest thing to do. But I did go outside, and a young man.
That was your humanity.
Yeah,
of course. You went outside because if it was anybody else, if it was you want somebody to come outside. Exactly,
to check. And there was no cars around or anything, and somebody else was like standing over him, and he was already expired. And that's another thing that happens in impoverished areas. You do get like a lot of crime. You do get there's a lot of violence. Even like the businesses that are available, they're like not they're subpar businesses. They're not they're like liquor stores, or maybe they're like subpar grocery stores or things of that nature.
A lot of closed down buildings, a lot of cardboard, and a lot of like wooden planks put up on different homes that have been abandoned,
boarded up and stuff like that. And trash, and
a lot of empty lots.
A lot of empty lots, and
chicken wing shacks, churches. Too many churches. How many churches do we need?
Yeah, so you have those type of things that are going on in those neighborhoods, and then people become accustomed to it. And as we're talking about poverty, one of the things that I have recognized is that you literally have to fight against that spirit. It is a spirit. Poverty is a spirit. Lack is a spirit. You have to fight against it constantly. You have to find ways to destroy that, because that attaches itself to generations, like a generational curse.
Yeah.
And so that's what we were finding when we, that was in like our housing. That was like housing. I mean, of course the house that we lived in had its own issues, which we'll get to, but even as we moved, it's almost like stuff was following.
Yeah, it continued to follow.
That's how I know it's generational, and there's some attachment to it. And if you guys can identify with like patterns.
The pattern of that. So when you as we even moved out of that apartment, that cycle continued when we ended up moving in with my grandmother, right? And so it found itself that every time that we would move, we would see the same types of issues and problems. And so that's what we're going to get to with that's what we want to get to with the identifying these problems, right? So if you're listening to this right now and you're like, yo, that's me, seems to happen to me everywhere, I don't know how I keep dealing with these challenges. Well, that is the identifier that you know that you're in poverty or dealing with some sort of poverty spirit. If you are constantly in a state of financial lack, i.e., we're in this apartment within the middle of Englewood. We are dealing with rodents. We're dealing with infestations. We're not in a financial position to immediately take care of it. Okay, so then you're going and picking other ways or other routes to kind of handle this small fire. But in reality, while you're putting out all of these small fires, there's this gigantic fire that you are not able to address because you're constantly in survival mode. Okay, so if you know that you constantly, again, you're doing a lot of work and you're never getting enough in return. You're constantly working, but it never seems as though that money or those resources and tools are coming back to you in a way that's going to be sufficient for your household, sufficient for your family. Then you know that you're dealing with poverty. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Like you're not in a stage of abundance where you like, oh, I've got excess, and that was something that we couldn't say. We didn't have like anything in excess. And even like working, like I said, I wasn't really making enough to cover like a lot of my expenses and, food because, even if I would have tried to get on food stamps, I wouldn't have been able to be eligible. I knew not to even try because there were so many rules behind that. But you can imagine if you're already under some type of limited income, and then you're trying to feed your family and do this and do that,
it's never enough.
And then I was going to a church, I was paying tithes, I was giving offerings and everything, but everything was just still so tight. And I just did not understand why. And it really is because it is a spirit. You have to identify it. And it's generational, and it's one of them, it's one of them strong spirits, and it ain't a spirit that can't be canceled or destroyed, but you have to identify what is it that is going on with me that has attached itself to my family dynamic.
And also there's the system. There's the system that is set up to keep you in this cycle, right? So again, if you want to get EBT, well, you work a job where you're just above the limit. Oh, I don't think you qualify, but you need it. How you gonna tell me I don't qualify? I don't have enough to pay for all of this stuff, to pay for these bills, to take care of these kids. Well, that's the system. It's designed to make you have to have less and no surplus at all. Okay. And so the system has impacted many generations of people. It's impacted our people, it's impacted Black people, it's impacted all kinds of people. It really doesn't matter your race, but we know that this system is designed to make sure that you never come out of it. Okay. And we've got the system, we've got the spirit of it. And those two things combined will make you very weary. And so that's the next thing that we want to talk about is those things combined, they will cause a lot of shame. Okay. So the reason why a lot of people are dealing with poverty, and as you're listening to this, you're saying, okay, this is definitely me. This is definitely my story. Well, wouldn't you know it? There's somebody in your family that's dealing with the same thing too.
Or friends.
Okay, because poverty is something that a lot of people do not talk about. If you are somebody who grew up in childhood poverty, you know that when you go to school, you don't say anything. And so that creates this permeation of shame.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so poverty breeds shame. And a lot of people stay in poverty because they never want to talk about it. They never want to bring it into light because everybody feels like if you say you don't have enough, then all of a sudden people are going to begin to judge you. People are going to begin to say, well, why don't you have enough? Well, maybe you don't work hard enough, or maybe you're not applying yourself, and you know you're none of those things. And so that further breeds these voices or thoughts in your head that's making you feel guilty. And what do? You keep it all to yourself.
Keep it to yourself.
Okay, so when people are dealing with shame of poverty, if somebody next to you, right? If your brethren and your sister or your coworker even, everybody in your community is dealing with poverty, but nobody is talking about it, how do you all help one another?
You can't.
You don't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't help each other because nobody's able to say the truth out loud. We're all struggling.
Exactly. Exactly.
People on YouTube, you're struggling. Why do you think a lot of people are making channels? People are struggling. They want to find a way of life, a new extra income
outlet,
because things are only getting more expensive.
Yep. And that too does bring us to, when you're talking about the shame, that fear is rooted in shame. People are very fearful about what is to come, like what is going to be. People ask us themselves, like, is this the way that it's always going to be? Because this is the way it's always been. And so it really is important to like identify if, if you're in that category. And honestly, like, because so many people are going through it, once you begin to express like, yes, that I have a problem, or yes, that I need help, or yes, this is my situation, then there are resources out there for people to help, and there are people that are willing to help and people are willing to give advice, but you do have to at least admit that things are not the way that you would like them to be. Things are not the way that you want them to be, and you're tired. And I do think that sometimes that fatigue can be a good thing. If you get tired enough that you be like, I got to say something. I got to do something
I have to do
about this situation, because I cannot like go into the next year. I cannot go into the next decade feeling this way and operating in this way. And if you are a believer, it attaches itself to, you being part of the kingdom of God and you and your inheritance. And we know that this is not our inheritance, right? Wealth and riches is our inheritance, right? Blessings are our inheritance. Favor is our inheritance. So then you really are combating against the things that the enemy is saying and doing, against what God is saying and what he said and what he has promised for us. And so that when you combine those things and you begin to I think equip yourself, right, with the word, then you have a great fighting chance to destroy this. And we are moving in strongly. There's a scripture that says that the kingdom suffereth violence, but the violent take it by force. We are moving in to take this thing by force, because this thing has been like, how people used to say, a monkey on your back. This thing has been like a monkey on our back.
It's an endless cycle. And because when you are a part of the body of Christ, it is your right, right? It is your heir. God has promised you more than enough. And he's promised you great things and great wealth. And so the first thing you have to do is know who you are, who you actually are outside of these systems and outside of that spirit that seems to not want to let you go, that's got you in that chokehold. You got to know who you are as a way to break that off of you.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so we kind of just wanted to give you guys those identifiers today and let you know that you have the ability to break out of what you are dealing with. And that actually brings us into the next video. Our next video, we will be talking about what poverty ultimately says about you, the feeling that it leaves on you, and what God says differently. We want to thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, we so look forward to sharing and giving you guys what we have and sharing our experiences with you, because again, it's helpful to us. It strengthens us to be able to release some of this off of our chest. A lot of the things that we have even said thus far, we haven't spoken of, or shared to this extent. And so, but I know that it's God that's behind us, that's allowing us the strength and the grace to be able to express ourselves and articulate ourselves in this particular way. But we are so grateful for the viewers, all of the and if you are viewing and you haven't subscribed, let me put this shameless plug in. Please
go ahead
and do yourself a favor and subscribe to this channel.
Yes.
Because we are bringing more powerful content. We are going to share some powerful truths with you,
tools, resources to
help you and to push you further, and that's going to cause you to be free, because the Bible says that whom the Son has set free is free indeed.
Yes.
And so if you have that freedom, you're going to be able to say something or do something for somebody else that's going to help set them free in the interim as well. And that's going to be powerful, because it's each one that reaches one is what we need in this world, right? We don't need to isolate ourselves or just pull back and just be like, well, that's their problem. No, it becomes all of our problem. If you got a problem, we got a problem. It's a we thing, not a me thing.
Yeah.
So
we're all a community.
We're all a community. And so as we begin to join together in this community on this channel, I hope that we can all be a help to one another. And a lot of the things in the comments that you guys have left have been very helpful too, and very encouraging. And so we really want to thank you so much for all of your support.
Yes. And remember that wisdom is the greatest wealth that you have. Okay? So we're going to be coming back with another video. So you all stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for watching. Lot Life. Bye-bye.
Life. Bye.